Programming for a special report on the search for fugitive Deputy Ed Tucker. He has been on the run since Tuesday night and is considered armed and dangerous. Sheriff Donny Youngblood is preparing to address the media at this hour. Let's take a picture. That is a picture of the suspect, Edward Tucker. He has been on the run from sheriff deputies after he was arrested Tuesday. He was arrested on Tuesday, being found in San Loren Park, that is located off of Mohawk between Rosedale Highway and Hageman Road. He was located in the park and detained after deputies found what were described as guns, drugs, and explosive materials inside that vehicle. He was detained and taken to the downtown jail, the underground parking garage, where somehow he managed to escape from that facility. He was handcuffed in the backseat of a patrol car but managed to get out, and authorities have not seen him since. Once again, you are looking at a graphic of Tucker that is what's described as a white male, an 18-and-a-half-year veteran of the Kern County Sheriff's Department, standing 5'7", 170 pounds. He was last seen wearing glasses with a black button-up shirt and black shorts. It's unclear if he is obviously still wearing that. Let's go now live to Sheriff Donny Youngblood with this morning's media conference and hear his remarks into the Sheriff's Department's search and investigation into Ed Tucker.
Everybody ready? Nope. Wait.
Yeah, Cassie ran out to get it.
Once again, and normally the Sheriff's Department holds press conferences in a large conference room. The Sheriff prefers to use his office for more intimate briefings with the media. And so we're kind of curious to see what kind of information we are going to get. Obviously, some of this information is being held close to the vest, possibly used in any future case against Edward Tucker. So we're kind of trying to fill in some holes right now in the search, most specifically where he believes Tucker might be right now. Is he still in the area? Do they believe that he has fled the area? Whether or not they discuss how he got out of that squad car or how they believe that he got out of that squad car remains to be seen. Tucker, once again, was first contacted by deputies over the weekend on Saturday in the Southwest.
Yeah, not the best
after deputies were notified that a man holding a gun was talking to children.
Most of the time it's dark
in an area. So he was contacted at that time. They talked to Tucker. They took him into custody, and inside his car they found guns and what they believed to be meth. He was arrested at that time and taken down and booked. He later posted bail and was released from jail. At that time, they did what's called a welfare check. A welfare check, from what we're told, was requested on Tucker.
Turn it back on, Rosemary.
And they went to find him again, located him at San Loren Park, as we mentioned, in the Northwest, off of Mohawk. He was located there where he was found with more guns. At that point, he was taken to the downtown jail where he managed to escape. So here's Sheriff Youngblood.
We've had an incident involving a person who was employed as a deputy sheriff, and we now are looking for him. And I'm sure you have questions. We also have the video of how he escaped, and we have the video of him after he got outside, and we're going to provide those to you today. So if you have questions about what occurred, feel free to ask.
You want to just walk us back and kind of walk us through?
Well, initially, the first call when he was arrested, he allegedly pointed a gun at some young girls, and a deputy arrived and ultimately made an arrest, found him to be under the influence of methamphetamine, and found firearms, several, in his vehicle.
What was he saying to those girls?
It was nonsensical. He asked them a question. They didn't, and then he told them he didn't believe their answer, and so it really. And then he went next door when the first deputy arrived, and when he saw the deputy, he ran to his car, which was running, and the deputy then detained him. After that, he was booked into the jail, and he was released on bail. And then a couple days after that, we received a call to check the welfare of Mr. Tucker, and we were able to locate him at a park in northwest Bakersfield. where the deputies found him again to be under the influence of methamphetamine and possessing methamphetamine and several firearms and some destructive devices. When I say devices, he had some det cord and things that you should not have, and it was a military grade. So this is a dangerous person that we're looking for, and we have gone all out, pulled all the stops. All of our resources are focused on getting Mr. Tucker back in custody.
Can you tell us his background here with the sheriff's office?
Well, I think he's been here right around 19 years. The last couple of years he's been on and off on leaves. The last one was about a year where he was off, receiving. Wasn't on paid status from as a deputy, but he was receiving money while he was off for the past year.
Is he still receiving that money currently?
I'm assuming so. I really don't know.
Could you talk about what departments he worked in? I know you said he had some destructive devices. Was he part of the
he was not part of the bomb squad. He was on patrol.
Why is he still considered a sheriff's deputy?
Well, if you know California law, it takes a lengthy period of time to take disciplinary action against someone. The process is right now is as fast as legally we can do to try and get to the end of this case, and as far as the administrative portion of it.
So if it was up to you, that question wouldn't be an issue, right?
There would be no question.
Sheriff, walk me back here. You said that you guys had a second call after he'd been released on bond. What did that friend tell you about him? Why, or if it was a friend, I think that's what Ray had said. What did that friend tell you about him?
Well, it was a retired sheriff's deputy that he was acquainted with, who had received some information that Mr. Tucker had been sending some texts that were with suicidal comments, and he was very concerned about his safety.
How did you find that at San Loren Park then?
Well, we have investigative tools and we have informants and we have all kinds of mechanisms to find people, and that's exactly what we're doing now.
Det cord, you're talking about detonation cord. Was
Yes.
that something you would use to like light a fuse or something? It's a fuse.
It can be explosive in the right circumstances. I'm not an expert on det cord, and I don't want to profess to you that I am. So I'll have to leave it at that, and you can do some research.
It's not just the fuse, though. That's the kind of stuff that ISIS was using when they were wrapping people, and it actually.
I don't know what ISIS was using.
Okay, but that's the cord itself actually explodes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sheriff, what was found, if anything, in the storage facility that was searched yesterday in connection with Mr. Tucker?
Well, I have not seen the results of the search, but I do know that they found more contraband, and when you see the search warrant returns, you'll all know exactly what was located.
Contraband, we're talking guns?
I have not seen the list.
Have any other residences or storage units been searched since then?
We are in the middle of an investigation, and we are not leaving any stone unturned.
Do we know what he was doing at the park before he was arrested, or I know you can't say much about how you tracked him there, but do we know what he was doing there?
No, I do not.
Is it common for someone in law enforcement to own this many guns or weapons or firearms, or whatever it may be?
I think it is common that police officers tend to, including me, include like guns and certain guns, firearms. We buy so that we can have as collectors or for whatever reason. But it's not uncommon for a police officer to have 8 or 10 guns. In this case, I don't know that number yet, so I don't know if it's going to be unreasonable or uncommon. I simply don't know. We're doing the research now. You can't just call the state and say how many guns are registered. There's a process.
Did he use them recreationally?
I'm sorry?
Did he use them recreationally? Like, was he a hunter or a guy who goes out shooting?
I suspect probably so, but I don't really know.
Do we know if all of these guns were legally owned by him?
I don't have any information that any of them were illegally obtained at this point, but that wouldn't surprise me. When we get to the end of this, we'll know the answer.
Can we get to how he kind of got away, how he actually escaped to that portion of...
I was hoping you were going to avoid that, but
Get there eventually, right?
yeah, we're gonna provide you with a video. I saw it this morning for the first time, and it appears as if two deputies took Mr. Tucker in a back patrol car, just like anyone else, into the basement of the jail. When they placed him in the patrol car, he had complained about a back injury that he had, and that he couldn't put his arms behind him to a full degree. So they used double handcuffs so that he would have some, his arms would not be bent as much into the back. He complained that he was nauseated when they got into the basement, and that he was possibly going to throw up. And the officers then rolled the window down so that he could have air. They then placed themselves at the rear of a patrol car where they're on their computers on the deck lid of the back of the car, and probably typing their report for booking, because they couldn't just take him straight into jail, because they have to lock down the jail because he's a prior deputy sheriff, and that takes some time. So while they were waiting for that, they were typing this report. I think this is indicative of the world we live in today, and I think you'll see it in the video. There's a focus on what they're doing, and it appears that they could not see what else was occurring. And in the video, you will see him reach outside of the window, reach down and unlock or open the door from the outside. He slowly exits the car, and you can see him at that point not in handcuffs, and places something in his pocket. He then very calmly walks away and walks up the ramp, and then in the second video you can see where he gets outside and he takes off running.
How did he get out of the handcuffs?
That's a great question. I suspect, and I don't know this, but I suspect that he may have been equipped with a handcuff key. If you look at the video, it appears that he's putting something in his pocket. I can't tell what it is. It could be a key, could be the handcuffs themselves. I really don't know.
Was he searched, and if he was searched, was he searched appropriately before he was placed in the back of the car?
We have not. I have not gotten to the point where I've read reports on the administrative aspect. There's two things going on here. One is what the officers did or did not do wrong, and their culpability, and that's an administrative investigation that we will look at, and that would be part of that. And of course, you all know that I can't talk about an administrative investigation, but that will be forthcoming. There's no question. The question that really is in the forefront of my mind is, why weren't you paying attention to this officer? I mean, to this suspect that was in a car. And it's not uncommon for us to double handcuff. It's not uncommon for us to roll a window down so that a suspect can get air. But it is uncommon to not pay attention to that suspect. And so we'll have to look at that and see if they have any culpability.
So you're telling me you don't think you did anything wrong by rolling down the window? That's common?
It's very common. Yeah. Sometimes you leave the air conditioning in the car running and the air conditioning on. Sometimes when you're have to leave someone in the car for a period of time and they're overheating or they're sick to their stomach, yeah, you can roll the window down in the back to where they can get air. But you stand at the window and watch your suspect.
How far was the window rolled down?
Far enough for him to reach his arms out and unlock the door.
What's the status of those two deputies now? Are they still with the department, suspended?
We are in the middle of that investigation. We're just starting, and as of right now, I have no indication that they're going to be taken off duty. You
were saying there's procedure for when you're dealing with cops, law enforcement, when bringing them in as suspects, like you have to lock down the jail. Should there have been a different procedure for him? He had been arrested a day before. You guys saw the weapons that were there. I know it is, you guys do it routinely. You put down the windows, put them in double handcuffs, but was it almost kind of...
Well, obviously we're looking in hindsight, and hindsight's 20/20. Of course, we should have done something differently. But sometimes things happen, and we'll have to look at this. We will do a thorough investigation. A review board will look at the actions of the officers and make a determination whether they violated policies of this department, and if so, there will be consequences, and if not, there won't be.
What is your candid reaction to looking at that video? Do you think that procedure was not followed in this case?
You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. This is something where I know that the officers were doing their job, And the last thing they thought is that this suspect was going to get out of a car and run away. He's in handcuffs. You can't open it from the inside. But I think there's apparently or an apparent focus on this computer that they're working on, and not a focus on the suspect. And obviously that turned out to be a problem.
How often do people escape from patrol cars? Do you know when the last time that was?
We've had them in the field get out of a car before, but this is really, really unusual. This is not the norm. This is not common by any stretch of the imagination.
So there are people, there are viewers who say, what a coincidence, the one person who's been in the force for 18, 19 years gets out. People think he has friends in the department. Any indication that that could be the case?
It's a great question, but I have no indication that, and knowing the members of this department, this is not a deputy sheriff that we're chasing. This is a crankster. This is someone that is abusing drugs and is a danger to the citizens that we serve, and in fact, a danger to the deputy sheriffs, a danger to the people that work in this office. So I don't, for a second, believe that occurred, and I have not had one person ask me if that was a possibility. But it is a great question, and it's not something that we've ignored.
Can you release the deputies' names who were involved in this escape?
We can.
We had a previous estimate from Ray, 5 to 20 minutes. Can you narrow that down? How long was it before they realized he was gone? The
best information I have at this point is 15 minutes. They did not know that he had left the basement. In fact, in the middle of this, a sergeant came out and communicated with the suspect to ask him if he was going to post bail or not, so that when they went into the jail to book him, it would be easier through the booking process. When that sergeant went back into the jail, the deputies then went to get their suspect, and a short time later, and he was not there.
So, but between when he was gone, literally what you see in the video, get out of the vehicle, and when they realized it was 15 minutes before they...
That's the best information I have, yes.
How does that make you feel?
Well, when you watch the video, you know, from a law enforcement standpoint, you want to scream at the video, wake up, look to your right. But it is what it is, and things happen, and you know, we're all human beings. Not making an excuse for what occurred, because I don't have all the facts or the details yet. But I do know that we have to look at how this occurred and make sure that this is not able to happen again.
What is the interdepartmental work going on now as far as the BPD and CHP and other agencies now? Your second kind of, I don't want to say this is similar to the manhunt earlier in the summer, but another sort of, I guess, very dangerous and formidable suspect I guess you have to chase now.
Well, as I said earlier, we're using every resource that we have available inside the department, outside the department. Our priority is to get this suspect back into custody.
Do you think he's still downtown?
I have no idea at this point.
When you say double handcuffs, does that mean he has to pick two separate locks if he had a
No, I think probably the two handcuffs were made them longer, if that makes sense to you, and so you still have one here and one here.
Sheriff, you said that you were looking into the search procedure if he had a handcuff key. Did he have anything else potentially on him? Was his wallet taken away from him? Does he have access to ATM, cash, things like that? We certainly are looking at every aspect of this case to try and find him, and to go into tactics and how we're doing that would be inappropriate. But do you know if he had his wallet still on him? Was it taken away from him? I have no idea.
Is anyone else being investigated at this time?
Not to my knowledge.
Can you talk about, to what degree can you talk about his approved leave? All we've been led to believe so far is that it's an approved leave and that you guys can't talk about any further.
Well, I think you all know there's different mechanisms that officers can be paid while they're not at work, and that's about as far as I can go. He's not on paid administrative leave, and your research ought to be able to help you get where you need to be.
Was he being paid taxpayer money?
Of course, all money that anybody gets is taxpayer money. Yes.
Sheriff, I know you don't necessarily want to entirely elaborate, but what are the procedures when you're talking about locking down the jail facility? You clear out the booking area because law enforcement's coming in. Is that a special circumstance? Was that a delay in a factor and reason why you?
Yeah, frequently, not frequently, but too frequently, An officer might be arrested from California Department of Corrections, from Bakersfield Police Department, from Shafter, from the Sheriff's Office for driving under the influence or another crime. And when they're booked in the jail, you don't want other inmates around knowing that this is an officer coming in, because you have a responsibility to keep that suspect safe while they're in your custody. So the booking area is locked down, meaning no one's there except the officers that are arresting and the officers that are booking.
And so does anyone monitor this surveillance video, or is it just seen later? Was someone there monitoring the garage? Was there surveillance?
No, it was after. We do not have any, it's not live to someone that's watching.
Talk to us about him in general. He is a 19-year veteran in your department. He's had training through your department. He knows how grid searches work. How dangerous is he? Is it significantly more dangerous than chasing your average person out there?
Well, the fact that he worked here is not what makes him more dangerous. His actions so far and what's been in his possession so far make him extremely dangerous. It's not normal to point a gun at young people. It's not normal for a police officer to use methamphetamine. None of that's normal. So this is a behavior that obviously there's some mental illness involved with, maybe drug-induced, but there's obviously something that's altered the actions of this person over the past however long, we don't know. But we do know it's not normal behavior, and it makes him very dangerous.
Did you know him before this?
Well, I know all of them, but I don't know him. Wasn't personal.
You never had conversations with him?
Not that I'm aware of.
But Sheriff, I mean, Christopher Dorner comes to mind when you think of recent cases. An LAPD officer who had an agenda, who wanted to come back and attack the department. He knew where they were looking, how they would go. He knew how to elude them. Is that a concern in this case? He knows where you might be looking for him.
Well, I think even in the Dorner case, that may have been blown a little bit out of proportion. Yes, being a police officer, you have some idea of how we do investigations. But unless you've worked in the Special Enforcement Division, you don't really know how what we're capable of doing and how we're capable of doing it. So I don't think that he has the insight to this entire organization and our method of operation. But with that said, of course, he has some information because he was a deputy here for 19 years.
He's suicidal, you said, as well. We've seen deputies kind of posted outside. Do you have people stepping up security outside headquarters? Do you have reason to believe he may target other deputies, other law enforcement?
Well, you know, it's important that we protect employees in this organization, but that's not our focus. Our focus is protecting the community until we can get this suspect in custody.
Do you think he's potentially going to target? Do you have any reason to believe he's targeting you guys or targeting someone else specific in the community?
I have no information that he's targeting anyone. But I don't want to look backwards and say that we didn't look at every aspect of what we're doing in this investigation. So we're trying to cover as many bases as we possibly can to ensure the safety of the employees, safety of the public.
Why was he employed in the Sheriff's Department after being arrested multiple times before he became a Sheriff's Deputy? I don't know that he was arrested multiple times before he became a Sheriff's Deputy, and I don't know that the circumstances of his background. This 19 years ago, you know, probably nobody here made the decision to hire or not hire him, so I can't really answer your question. Well, how do you not know that? Don't you guys do background checks?
Well, there's 1,300 employees, and I promise you, I don't know 1,300 backgrounds.
But someone in the department had to have known that. 19
years ago, the crew that worked in doing backgrounds and personnel is not the same crew by any stretch of the imagination. So it would be a little bit unfair to ask someone back in personnel, why did we hire him 19 years ago? Because they can't give me the answer.
So is that against policy to hire someone that has been arrested before?
No. If that were the case, our pool to hire would be very, very small, because some people get arrested for minor offenses when they're 15, 16 years old, even 20, 21 years old, and 10 years later they apply for a law enforcement agency. It's a factor, but it's not necessarily a disqualifying factor.
And why are the standards at my news station to be hired higher than the standards to be a Kern County Sheriff's Deputy?
You probably need to ask your station manager that question. I don't know.
What's your search program?
If you had to hire 1,300 people from this community, I promise you your standard might be a little different. Yes?
Sorry, what is your search perimeter right now? What are you looking at?
We're not going to talk about our tactics and where we're searching.
Do you believe he is still in Kern County at this point?
Again, I'm not going to talk about what we think or what we know. Yes.
As far as covering the community and making sure they're safe, are you adding more patrol to the areas where he was previously arrested? I know residents there were nervous he would return.
We're doing the best that we can to protect the community that we serve, and we have done some things differently, but again, I'm not going to go into tactics.
You were not in town when this actually happened. What were your first thoughts when you heard about this?
Well, I was on my way back, and my first thoughts were that this is you can't make this stuff up, and it's sad that someone that works in a law enforcement agency chooses to use a drug that we all know is so destructive and destroys so many lives. It makes no logical sense why someone would do that.
And we're coming off this huge manhunt, the 17-1, day one in Weldon. Are resources still high? I know a lot of money was used towards that. Are those still available? The resources monetarily, is that available right now?
Well, I don't know what you mean if they're available. We're not doing something because we don't have the money. This is an all-out search for Mr. Tucker, and we will stay with us till we find him.
Are there any indications that he used drugs while he was a sheriff's deputy?
I have no indication of that.
So that wouldn't be a reason to be put on leave. He would be fired if that was the case.
Well, I can't answer your question because that would be an administrative investigation, of which I don't really know the content of. But if I did, I couldn't talk to you about it.
Can someone be put on leave for using drugs?
Yes.
How many people have you added onto the force? Can you kind of speak to how much, beefed up protection, if you will, this community's under now?
I can tell you that we have changed the resources that we use to more than what we were before, but I can't tell you how we're doing that.
How do you think this is going to end? I mean, you said.
Well, I hope that he comes to a reasonable mindset where he realizes he needs help, and we really do want to get him into custody, get him the help that he needs, and make sure that nobody in our community is hurt.
How did you find out about this? I know you mentioned you were on your way back. How did you find out and when?
At about 1:30 local time yesterday morning.
One of the questions that was asked previously was that there appeared to be a 2-hour gap between when the public was notified and the media was notified and when this individual apparently escaped.
All right, you were listening to comments from Sheriff Donny Youngblood. He is discussing the Sheriff's Department's investigation into fugitive Deputy Edward Tucker, who has been on the run since Tuesday night after he escaped from the downtown jail, the underground parking garage, as he was brought in a patrol car and was waiting to be processed. Sheriff Youngblood does say that the video not only of Tucker getting out of the car, but him leaving the property will be made available this afternoon. We'll get that video for you just as soon as we can up on our website and on all of our social media platforms. He does call Tucker he called him a, quote, prankster when he was asked deliberately about him still being a deputy. He has been on leave for more than a year at this point, and he does remain at large. There is $5,000 reward that's currently being offered for any information that leads to Tucker's arrest. Now, if you know where he is or you've seen him, you're being asked to call the KCSO's tip line at 391-7719. That number, 391-7719. We will have, of course, much more on this. We will continue to stream this live as he wraps up his comments on our website at turnto23.com. We will also have the very latest for you coming up later this afternoon. Also, go to our website, turnto23.com, for everything you need to know. We'll see you later this morning at 11 a.m. We now return you to local programming.
Ignore contacting someone because he might be related to him.
From what we understand, his kids and his wife are afraid. Do they have reason to be?
I think until he's in custody, I think we all experience that anxiety level because we don't know what he's capable of.
Do they have reason to be specific?
You'd have to ask them. I can't. I'm not going to plant a seed of fear into someone that may or may not have it.
Are you asking for any other law enforcement agencies to help you in this search?
We are using more resources than we normally would, and where we're getting those and how we're deploying those is one of our tactical things that we just simply don't talk about.
Have you guys opened up the comm center, the emergency comm center?
The DOC, yes, we have.
You said he had the det cord. Do you have a list of the other guns that he had there for the second arrest?
I do not have a list of those.
Sheriff, can you tell us also where the storage unit is? We understand somewhere in the northwest.
I have no idea where it's at.
Any idea if there were any cases that he worked on that may have been compromised?
I have no indication of any case that he might have been involved in that's compromised. He has not obviously been with us for a year now, and before that, I think there was some break-in service as well.
Have you guys had any indications or sightings of him? I mean, we heard of a man being taken at gunpoint. It looked like a felony traffic stop almost on Nile Street. We also heard shortly, sometime perhaps after he went missing, San Joaquin Hospital had some kind of scare.
I have no reports of any sightings, or those could be independent cases of another investigation. I don't know.
So do you believe someone is helping him?
It's a great question. Generally, people that run in those circles can't stay out of custody very long. This is someone that was arrested twice in the same week when we weren't looking for him. So now I think the chances of him staying out of custody are less because of the behavior that draws law enforcement attention. And we just certainly hope that we can get him into custody before somebody gets hurt.
Does the department know how long he's been using drugs?
I don't have any idea how long he's been using drugs.
Does the department know how long he's been using drugs?
I don't have any idea how long he's been using drugs. I am the department.
Sheriff, can you, when we talked about this with pensions, can you fire somebody without giving notice, or do you have to give them an advance notice?
I think you need to do some research on administrative investigations, but with that said, no, I cannot. If you saw the case back east where the sheriff's deputy was terminated, I don't know how they do that, but in California it doesn't work that way.
So it's what, like a 30-day?
If you do your research on California law, you'll discover how long it takes.
There seems to be a gap between when he was arrested at the park and when he arrived at the jail. Is it usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get someone that far?
Well, it depends on what they were doing at the scene, because if he has a vehicle, sometimes you're conducting a search, and that search can take a lengthy period of time. So I would say that is not an abnormal length of time, and on the circumstances of this case especially. Anybody else? I will keep you informed as much as I can on the progress, and as soon as he's in custody, you'll be the first notified. All right.
You're going to provide us any idea time-wise on the video and also the names of the deputies involved?
The video speaks for itself, and I don't have the timelines personally, but when you see the video, they're not very long, and it speaks volumes.
Are you going to email that out to us? Or?
I think we're going to provide them. Do we have them made yet?
We have
DVDs.
We can have hard copies made.
Yeah, they should be done.
And then what I'll do is you can pick them up right here in the lobby building A. If they're ready now, we can hand them out right now. I don't know if they're ready yet or not.
And just the names of the deputies. You said you can release them?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't release the names of the deputies.
How many are there?
Two. Thank you, guys.